You know that one person who started with no family money, no useful connections, no secret inheritance, and maybe a bank account that looked more like a warning message than a financial statement? The one who worked a normal job during the day, learned something useful at night, drove the old car, ignored the expensive lifestyle everyone else was displaying, and somehow, years later, became genuinely wealthy? From the outside, people usually call them lucky. They assume there must have been a shortcut, a rich relative, a mysterious investor, maybe a suitcase full of money hidden under the floorboards. But often, what happened inside that person's mind is much more interesting. If you are trying to build something from almost nothing, welcome. You are about to feel very seen. Wanting to become wealthy does not automatically make you greedy. It does not mean you worship money, and it definitely does not mean you believe a sports car will heal every emotional wound you have ever collected. Sometimes, the desire for money is not really about luxury. It is about never feeling powerless again. Today, we are breaking down the psychology of people who become rich from zero, the ones society sometimes calls obsessed, unrealistic, or excessively ambitious, but whose behavior may be driven by a completely different relationship with control, risk, and possibility. For some people, money is mainly something to spend: a better phone, a nicer apartment, a holiday that looks good in 12 carefully selected photos. But for others, money represents something deeper. It represents options: the ability to leave a terrible job, to solve an emergency without begging for help, to buy back their time, to look at a problem and think, this is inconvenient, instead of, this could destroy my entire life. Psychologists call part of this an internal locus of control. Stripped of all the academic language, it means believing that your actions can influence what happens next, not control everything. Because nobody controls the economy, their childhood, the family they were born into, or the random disasters life occasionally throws through the window. But people with a stronger internal locus of control tend to focus more attention on the part they can move. They treat life like a car with imperfect steering. The road may be terrible, the weather may be worse, and someone apparently designed the entire route while personally offended, but their hands remain on the wheel. When money is limited, that mindset can change tiny everyday decisions. They ask different questions, not, why does everyone else have more than me? But, what can I learn that someone will pay for? Not, how do I look successful? But, how do I become useful? Not, how can I avoid all risk? But, which risk can I survive long enough to learn from? And those questions slowly create a very different life. But there is more going on than just control. There is another psychological concept called self-efficacy. Self-efficacy is your belief that you can handle the challenge in front of you. It is not the same as confidence. Confidence can be loud. Self-efficacy is often quiet. It is the person sitting at a small kitchen table at midnight, watching another tutorial, fixing another mistake, sending another email, and thinking, I do not know how to do this yet, but I can probably figure it out. Psychologist Albert Bandura described mastery experiences as one of the strongest ways this belief develops. In simple language, every time you solve a real problem, your brain keeps the receipt. You earn your first $10 from something you created. You find your first client. You negotiate a slightly better salary. You save enough to survive one unexpected bill. These are not giant heroic victories. They are small pieces of evidence, and evidence changes identity. The person no longer thinks, people like me never become wealthy. They begin thinking, maybe I can create value. Maybe I can solve bigger problems. Maybe my starting point is not a permanent verdict. But here is where it gets personal. Many people who become highly driven around money learned that relationship long before they understood what wealth was. For some, childhood was watching a parent build something with patience. They saw saving, planning, repairing, learning, and slowly improving. Money was treated like a tool. Sometimes it was a healthy pathway, but sometimes it was more painful. It was hearing arguments about bills through a bedroom wall. It was watching a parent panic when the car broke down. It was noticing that one small emergency could change the emotional temperature of the entire house. That moment does something to a child that has very little to do with the actual bill. Their nervous system learns that having no money means having no protection. So somewhere inside, a promise forms. I will never be this helpless again. That promise can produce extraordinary resourcefulness. People like this often become very sensitive to waste. They notice opportunities other people ignore. They learn to repair, negotiate, sell, improvise, and make one resource perform three different jobs. While someone else sees an old laptop, they see a way to learn a skill. While someone else sees a boring side project, they see a possible exit door. While someone else sees $10, they see the first brick in a much larger wall. Another important difference is their relationship with delayed rewards. Most wealth building is psychologically boring. It is repeating useful actions when nobody is impressed, saving before the number feels meaningful, reinvesting money instead of immediately celebrating with a purchase, working on something for months while receiving almost no proof that it will succeed. The reward system in the brain naturally prefers what feels good now. But people who build wealth from very little often become skilled at connecting today's discomfort to tomorrow's freedom. They are not rejecting pleasure forever, they are moving it. The expensive purchase can wait. The investment, training, equipment, or emergency fund comes first. Not because they are emotionally made of concrete, but because the future feels real to them. And let's be honest about something else. This pattern is not always healthy. Some people do not build wealth because the process excites them. They build because stopping makes them feel unsafe. They cannot enjoy what they have because their brain is still living inside an old emergency. 1 million becomes 2. 2 becomes 5. 5 becomes, what if everything disappears tomorrow? That is not always ambition. Sometimes it is fear wearing a business suit. A healthy relationship with wealth creates more freedom. An unhealthy one creates a more expensive cage. So the important question is not only, how much have you built? It is, can you feel safe when you are not producing? Can you enjoy dinner without calculating its return? Can you spend time with someone without checking your phone? Are you building money to support your life or slowly replacing your life with the process of building money? One is freedom. The other is survival mode with better furniture. And psychology is only part of this story. Starting conditions matter. Education matters. Health, location, timing, family responsibilities, discrimination, economic stability, and plain luck matter. Some people work extremely hard and still encounter barriers that mindset alone cannot remove. So becoming wealthy from zero is not proof that one person is morally superior. And struggling financially is not proof that someone is lazy. Psychology influences how people respond to circumstances. It does not make circumstances equal. You might be sitting here realizing that you have always treated money as protection, even when you called it ambition. Or you may be realizing that you feel trapped by your starting point and cannot imagine how anyone builds beyond it. And if it is the second one, I want to say something directly to you. Feeling powerless is not a character flaw. It may be the result of years in which your effort did not seem to change anything. But self-efficacy is not something people are simply born with. It grows through evidence. One useful skill, one solved problem, one uncomfortable conversation, one decision that makes tomorrow slightly less fragile than today. So, people who become rich from zero are not always fearless. They are not always unusually intelligent. And they definitely do not wake up every morning glowing with discipline while inspirational music plays in the background. Many of them simply develop a deep belief that problems can be touched, studied, and moved. They were not born holding a map. They learned to draw one while they were already walking. So tell me, do you see money as status, freedom, or protection? Share your experience in the comments and subscribe for more psychology behind the patterns quietly shaping our lives.